Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen Workshop for November 15th, 2018. We're going to start off with the Citizens Forum. We've got several people signed up, so whenever you come up to the podium, please state your name and your address, please. First on the list is Steve No.
Mayor-elect Cole, Mayor-elect Church, Alderman-elect Church, Alderman Jones, and Alderman Brown. My name is Steve No, 134 Fergus Road, Laverne. I'm going to spend just a few minutes on the available seat that's coming up that Mr. Cole is going to vacate. But before I talk about that seat, I want to talk about unity. About this same week, 4 years ago, we had a mayor and an alderman election. We elected a new mayor and we elected 2 aldermen. At that time, our community, the citizens, came out and voted, as they're supposed to. They came out and voted because they wanted to express their voice, as they did. Unfortunately, when it came time to put the third place winner in that seat, people came up here, they talked about Mr. Cole because Mr. Cole outright won that third place. So not only did we not choose third place, and just so everybody knows that may be in the room, we didn't even pick the 4th place. We picked the 5th place, which was Mr. Jones. Nothing against Mr. Jones, that's just the way it went down. In my opinion, as a private citizen and a registered voter, first is first, second is second, third is third, fourth is fourth, and so on. There's no ifs and buts, cut and dry. The people came out, they voted, they voiced their opinions with their fingers when they made their vote. We split the unity of our community up right then, the very first day. Our board showed the community their vote didn't count, didn't mean a thing. It didn't do anything. There was some talk about if those people would have got more votes. Well, they didn't. It's just the way the process is. So in my opinion, that third place should have went in that seat then, just like it needs to go Tuesday. That's me. Steve No, third place winner. I'm asking you guys to do the right thing, the correct thing, the moral thing, and put me in that seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Next we have Jay Humphrey.
Jay Humphrey, 702 Judge Mason Way in Laverne. Steve talked about unity. That's what this is. This is a community. We need to be unified. Steve thinks it needs to go to the third place. I think it needs to go to the best person. He will work together with the community, not for special interests, not for anything other than the citizens. I'm here to speak for Steve No, and I'd like to see him as alderman. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Ivy Brown.
Mayor-elect, Alderman. My name is Ivy Brown. I live at 440 Randall Lane, and I'm here to speak for Steve No to be appointed Alderman. Steve is a good man, and he won't tell you guys all the things that he does for people because he's just that kind of person. He's given me money to help other people that needed it. He does all these things behind closed doors that are like life-changing for some people. I've known him to help elderly people to like fix their house, not charging them a dime. He's worked countless hours, and if you think about how much time he spent coaching kids in Laverne of the time that he's been here, I mean, honestly, the city owes him a debt. So I'm asking you guys, when it comes time to appoint, please appoint Steve No Alderman.
Thank you. Next, we have Megan Marie. Don't see her here. We'll move on to Carol Haas.
Carol Haas, 455 Cedar Park Circle, Laverne. Mayor-elect Cole, current alderman and elected alderman, I would like to speak on behalf of Mr. Steve No in his appointment to the alderman seat to be vacated by Mayor-elect Cole upon his swearing in as the mayor of Laverne, November 20th, 2018. Yes, I had to write this out so I could stay on focus. I've known Mr. No for 18 years. My son played football and basketball with the Laverne Varsity League from the time he was 11 till 14 years of age. Mr. No was a big influence in my son's development during this time. He taught him discipline and team participation. Mr. No continued to work with the youth of Laverne for many years after the time his sons outgrew the youth programs. He has been a model for these young people to look up to. Currently, Mr. No will announce the varsity football games. He loves the youth of the Laverne community and sees a bright future through them. He wants to make Laverne great for the youth and encourage them to stay in a thriving community. Also, Mr. No is highly recommended through social media when residents are seeking help with repairs and maintenance of their homes. He has a wealth of knowledge. He is always professional in the work environment, and he does the job right the first time. Mr. No is an upstanding member of the Laverne community. He supports the future growth and development of this great city. He also values transparency and speaks the truth when approached with a question or issue. I highly recommend Mr. No be appointed as alderman. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Jim Hosey.
Right, so I'm a little bit late to the party. It sounds like we're on the no train here. I just want to read a couple of numbers here, but Church 3703, Brown 3096, No 2934, and Anderson 2133. I'm kind of into numbers, and when I look at the votes cast, there was a 607 vote difference between Church and the incumbent Brown. 162 votes between the incumbent Brown and No, and then Anderson was a distant 801 votes behind. So the difference was between the top three vote getters, Church to No, 769 votes, and the fourth place finisher came back at 801 votes after third place. So I think Laverne has spoken, and in a pretty big vote for change and with our direction of as a city. It's beyond clear that the support for the top three candidates far exceed anyone else on the ballot. This cannot be denied. We want to see growth. We want to grow our pride in Laverne. This doesn't mean that everyone serving now is wrong about the entire direction for Laverne, but it does mean that the people in Laverne want more for Laverne and a direction that supports our concerns. Steve No is a good man. I've known Steve for 3 years, and he's someone that we can trust. He listens, he's visible, and he always answers a call for help. Steve ran on a common sense approach to running government. No big promises that are hard to keep, but how do we take our city to a new place that is in the best interest of the residents of Laverne? Excuse me. So here we are, and the vote's in your hands. Ms. Brown, you made it, and not by a lot, and I don't mean that in a condescending way. I say that to appeal to you in your vote to support Steve No as well. I read your statement about why you serve and how it aligns with the message that Laverne residents are sending. I am guessing you are one of the deciding votes. On the Laverne, Tennessee website, and I quote, Alderman Brown ran for the office of alderman to be a voice for the people of Laverne. And as a longtime resident, she has vested interest in the community and views of all its residents and neighbors. So I'm going to ask, when we cast our vote, and I'm not sure if it's tonight, but when we cast our vote as a neighbor of every resident of Laverne, I can't think of a better neighbor than Steve No. He deserves to be appointed as the next alderman of Laverne. That's it.
Address. Your address. I didn't catch your address. Your address.
Oh, I'm sorry. 140. I apologize. It's the first time to come up here to speak. I'm Jim Hazeman at 141 Vaughnwood Drive.
Thank you.
Next, we have Larry Lanker.
Alderman, Mayor-elect. I'm Larry Lanker, 112 Tulip Poplar Drive. And I'm following everybody else in speaking for Mr. No. The votes were what the votes were, and that's what the people have asked for. The people have also asked you to represent them as well. I've heard no negative about Mr. No in the 5 years I've been here. In the couple years that I've known him, I know of anything negative about him. And I'm going to leave a quote, General George Patton. If everybody's thinking the same, someone's not thinking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Linda Steed.
Elect Alderman. I don't have anything to say because everybody has said it all. That's everything I had on my list. All I'm asking is, please, give this seat to that man. He deserves it. Thank you.
Next, we have Roger French.
My name's Roger French. My address is 2106 Montgomery Lane. And I would like to thank all of you for this opportunity to speak. I'd like to address the vacancy created by Mr. Cole winning the mayor's race. The only person that should be considered is Steve No. Steve finished a close third in the election, and there's nobody else even close. Steve loves the youth of Laverne, and he loves the elderly of Laverne. He is Mr. Laverne. To pick anybody else would be a travesty. This man deserves this position, and when you're doing your picking, put your beliefs and whose side you're on to the side, because there's only one man that deserves this, and that's Steve No. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Mary Beth Vasquez.
Mary Beth Vasquez, 8053 Logan Drive. I'm here to ask for Steve No to take Jason Cole's seat as alderman. Steve is the community of Laverne. Steve is Laverne. Steve's such a good, fun-loving man. He just deserves this. Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and move into the workshop agenda. Prayer will be with Darren Tyler from Conduit Church. The Pledge of Allegiance will be with the Boy Scout Troop 340. Order of business, there's going to be a motion to appoint a new alderman. Do we have any discussion on that?
Yes, I'd like to say a couple things. As the people have spoken, it is clear to me that the number 3 spot should go to Mr. No for many different reasons. One, because that's what the votes say. 2, when you run a campaign and you put yourself out there, you inherit the good and the bad of everyone that's aligned with you. And I can tell you, Steve No never changed his values for the votes. There's votes he did not receive because of the values he believes in, and there's votes he did receive because of the values he believes in. So I hope Tuesday, as the meeting comes, I think Steve No deserves the position, period.
I told Steve privately, and I'll be glad to say it publicly too. I commended him on a well-run campaign. He kept it clean. There was no mudslinging, and I appreciate that a lot. And so we spoke about that, and I just wanted to say that publicly, that that is a mark of an upstanding person. Thank you.
And our state, as I've already done in the newspaper, is just as I felt in 2014, I still feel today, that whomever comes in third should be appointed to that role, because it's really the will of the people at that point. Anyone else? Okay, well, after we appoint a new alderman, we'll have the oath of office ceremony, and then we will have a motion to elect a new vice mayor from the board. You should have minutes in your packets. We've got a couple presentations, which one we have tonight. Chief Walker?
If it's okay with you folks, I'm going to sit here because we're going to be working from the laptop, and Easton Horton, who is our one of our newer employees, will be coming up. Easton is our crime and intelligence analyst and is doing a really good job. We got him after he had finished his dissertation. We got him before he got his leather-bound book. He just chose to go that route for his master's. And he's a very smart young man. We're glad to have him. He's not sworn law enforcement. He's a non-sworn member of the department. But we've been able to do a lot of things and see a lot of things since we got him, and we were able to begin to get in and delve into our LexisNexis Crime Analysis Center software we have now that we use on the backside, that a lot of the things there can't be visible to the public. The results can be, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, but we're rolling out and announcing tonight that the LexisNexis Accurate Community Crime Mapping link will be available to the public on the website so that our citizens can actually see what crimes are occurring in their neighborhoods, in their areas. And if we can, let's go ahead and crank up.
This is the main page of the website. We're proposing to put it here on the Spotlight tab. We'll change the name to Crime Map, Community Crime Map. We'll have a little blurb here about it with a link for it. This will be we'll make the Spotlight tab the default tab that will be open when you display the web page. So it'll be right there for everyone can get to it easily. There will also be, it will be under the police department, their actual page here. So you'll see it. It's hidden right now, but there'll be a link over on the left just under, like, for news and areas, and you can click it and you will see this page, which is, you can use this page. It's live. You can use it here. This will tell you about it. You can also click the button, which will take you actually to the full website of the Community Crime Map, bigger screen, you know, more detail and everything like that. And that's the public-facing part of it. Do you want to go ahead to do let Easton take over?
Yes,
okay.
That's okay. Thank you, Glenn. We've been working on this and trying to get the data ready to go, and not everything will display. We're still seeing about a 3 or 4% error rate on the data when it comes through, and a whole lot of that has to do with the lat long or the XY coordinates. GIS doesn't like it when you put just an address down. You have to have the lat long behind it too for it to display here. So we're still working on some of those issues. But Easton's going to show you when you go in, you'll select Laverne, or it should pop up for Laverne. And when you go down on the left side over on the left side, you can hit the date range, and you can choose the date range. Yesterday, 3 days a week, 1 year, or you can actually go in with dates that are there that you want to see. There is at least a 24-hour lapse or delay on the data because they download the data each morning. Most of the time, it's around 4 a.m. Central Time. And then Accurate goes through, checks the validity of the data to make sure everything came through correctly, and then they will load it up. So you're going to see at least about a 24-hour delay on your dates. It's themselves most of the time. But as you can see, there are icons there. You can go to the event down under there, and you can select. Those things are pre-selected by Accurate, and they're there up front, and you can go through and select everything. You can go through and add additional, delete things, or you look at specific things. Scroll on down. You can see even traffic type offenses like DUI, traffic incidents. Right under. There you go. Move your cursor over on one of the U-turn signs. Traffic incident, and you can hit one of those incidents. It will give you the actual incident number that we have, and you can see that as of October 24th, that was incident number 34,047 for us in October. It will give you a block number. If you look at the public address, gives you date and the time, but it gives you the block number. It will show you, for example, if it's 5093 Murfreesboro Road, which is City Hall, and everything here at this complex, it will be 5 and then XXX. We have to do that to protect on a lot of incidents so that we don't show exact addresses for some crimes that are there, and we had to do it for all or none. And there are just some crimes we cannot give an exact address for a lot of reasons because of the victims for the most part on some of those. And there's a 500-foot offset where the icon shows from where the actual location was too. All right, go on down. You can select everything, all. You can deselect all. That's everything there. That shows you what's there, and you can put the cursor over on it. It'll highlight, tell you that's another assault. It will show down near the bottom where the 3 is in it.
Down. The white one,
down. Right there. That shows you there were 3 of those events that were there, but you can go through those 3 and actually see what's there. Okay, go ahead and go on to offenders.
This won't populate.
That one's not going to populate for us.
It's not linked.
All right, going down. They're supposed to be picking up our sex offenders, so it'll show it there. Of course, you can always go to TBIs and get it. Now, we can also show you a density map, which will show you for these events, the density with colors, which show a lot of things. It tells you where hotspots are for different crimes, for example, or different periods of time, etc. Now, that hotspot there is a location that we were tickled to death to have because of a retail value for us from sales tax, etc. But unfortunately, a large retailer like that allows other folks to come in for other reasons, not shopping. Well, some of it may be shopping, but not from the retail. And we had some of those this week we arrested too. All right, go over, do our agency layers. Our agency layers will show you our zones. You need to go in. We normally have 4 zones, which means we have 4 patrol zone officers working. That's our average. If we are lucky enough to have 5 or more actually working on a shift, we'll go to the 5-zone layer. But the zones are marked out for you so that you can see where we have one person and what's happening. All right. Show them the 5-zone real quick.
All right.
There you go. And there are the 5 zones that we split out. All right. And about community crime map, it gives you information you can go through and read about it. It also allows you to go in and even do a tutorial so that you can see what you're doing and how you're getting it. Now, one of the things that we're excited about is the community actually has the opportunity to look and see at any time, as long as they have connectivity through the internet to go to the city's website. Now, there's another side of this that we're loving, and we're getting a lot of things. You've seen a lot of activity and maybe down on the other end of Murfreesboro Road, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and yesterday. At that particular location we talked about a few minutes ago, and Easton went in and did some searching for us and pulled some information up for us, and I'm going to let him explain to you what we found. I asked for one thing in particular concerning vehicle burglaries. That's one of the things that just torments all of us because technically, as you'll see in a minute, most of them are not burglaries as such. It's not a breaking and entering. We've said over and over again, don't leave your valuables in your cars. Don't leave your cars unlocked. We have the same problem with car theft. We have people with 2 cars. They leave one unlocked with a spare key for the car next to it. People go in the unlocked car, find the key, they bump it and find the car somewhere in the parking lot or right beside it or whatever, and they drive off with the other car. Those things happen over and over and over and over. But I'm going to let Easton explain to you what he came up with doing some drilling and digging that previously would have been a completely manual search for us, going through the paper files.
Am I on here? Okay, yeah, I'm on. Okay, good. All right, so the chief asked me, as he just discussed, to look into vehicle break-ins, vehicle burglaries. And so I went back a year from November of last year. So this map that you're seeing now is from November 14th, 2017 to November 14th, 2018. We had 189 vehicle burglaries during that time period, scattered out across the city. And so what I wanted to do is look for common characteristics between these burglaries to determine how people may be choosing their targets or how they're working. So what I found was 187 of the vehicles out of 189 were unlocked, meaning that is 98.95% of vehicles that are burgled are unlocked. So people are just walking around trying door handles until one opens. So if you don't want your car broken into, lock it. Simple as that. Also, we found that if you look across the patrol zone, so a lot of the stuff that I have are the same tools you have. I just have it linked to case notes and things like that. But a lot of the same tools that I used to determine what I'm presenting now. So I looked at the commonalities in the patrol zones, and turns out there's not a lot of difference. Each zone had between 40 and 50 burglaries in the last year. So there's no zone that is exempt from this. Each zone has its own hotspot, its own area. However, the hotspot for burglaries, as far as where they occur most, is from Rosecrans Drive. It's in a belt. From Rosecrans Drive down through Rutherford Point down to George Buchanan. That is your belt where a majority of your burglaries are taking place. Furthermore, if we look at the analytics over here, let's see if it'll pull this up. I don't know if it will. I may have to refer to my PowerPoint here. Yeah, probably won't. Okay, we'll work through it. So we see that a majority of vehicle burglaries happen at 3 a.m., between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. So I can get down in here and look at the specific hours that activity happens so that we can better optimize our patrols, figure out what we need to do, figure out how to approach it.
But the thing you can see there is between about 2 and 4, actually you see the heat map up at the top on Sunday morning. So after Saturday night, when everybody goes to bed and they go out, they wind up occurring during those times most of the time, which is when you would think they would be.
And these tools, by the way, are available on the community side as well. So we didn't really discuss that, but at the top, if you go to the analytics tab, you can see these exact same charts and graphs. You can see the times that stuff occurs. You can look at your neighborhood, look at your segment of the community, and see what time things are occurring around your neighborhood so you know when to keep an eye out. Also, this was a huge one. I decided to look into stolen guns, and in these burglaries, these 169 burglaries, there were 19 firearms. 189, sorry. There were 19 firearms that were stolen as a result of these burglaries. People leaving guns in their car, people break into the car and take the gun. 19 guns were put into circulation. We've recovered 2 of them.
Now, part of the problem with the recovery of the weapons is that the overwhelming majority of the weapons that were left in vehicles, the owner had no clue what the make, model, serial number of that weapon was. If you have a weapon in your home, in your car, be sure you know the information on it. Write it down somewhere. Write down things that we will need to know to try to find your stolen property, whether it's a gun, a television, or whatever else. We need that information. And part of the problem we have now, if you look around Middle Tennessee, many of the carjackings where people are shot, etc., we've recovered some here that have come out of cars in Nashville that because of ATF and their NIBIN testing on casings, etc., even the weapons themselves, there have been some robberies, carjackings, attempt to commit first-degree murder charges, etc., as a result of weapons we've recovered here and that have been recovered other places too. All we're doing is giving a key and a free card and telling the folks who choose to steal from others and commit other crimes, here you go, we're going to help you. So please pass the word to your neighbors. That's one of the things we need. It costs all of us in the long run when folks leave things wide open and take it and steal it. Thank you, Easton.
Absolutely,
Thank
no
you
problem.
for the time too.
Thank you both. It's going to be a great tool to see, and adds a layer of transparency that I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy. Moving on to old business, we've got second reading, Ordinance 2018-21, an ordinance to amend Title 7, Chapter 6 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding fireworks. Bruce, do you want to explain that?
Sure. This is the ordinance that we've been discussing to change the hours of discharge for the fireworks to where it's not as many and not as long time frame as far as days. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on that?
Yes, I'd just like to make the point that as the ordinance is currently written, it seems to be kind of unenforceable. Our police will report a noise ordinance violation or a fireworks violation. They will respond to that. The people that are shooting the fireworks continue as soon as the police officer leaves. The other thing is, it doesn't get dark in July for the July 4th portion of it until 9 p.m. or thereabouts. And the fireworks ordinance, as it's written to be read on Tuesday, would end the fireworks at 10 p.m., which would give you only an hour window on the 4th of July to shoot your fireworks. And so that's my reasons for my line of thought on that. And it's only twice per year, so it's not, and those are our times, you know, it's going to be July 4th and then New Year's Eve, December 31st every year.
Anyone else?
What is the actual ordinance now with the time?
I believe it goes to 11 p.m. Can you confirm, Bruce?
Currently, I believe it goes to 10 p.m. But it's June 21st through July 7th.
So we're not changing the time. It is remaining the same. I just want to make sure that citizens understand that.
Actually, the time is going to change. It's going to go to 11 p.m. For the 4th of July and for December 31st. Is that right, Bruce? Or is that the existing? Yeah, that's the existing, right?
It's going to 11 p.m. on July 4th and December 31st. It was 1 o'clock in the morning on those 2 days.
Okay, so it's changing it from 1 a.m. on July 5th to 11 p.m.
Correct.
Okay. Any more questions?
Chief, I have a question for you about this. I guess your officer spent a lot of time chasing those calls.
Yes, we do.
And in the situation with that right now, currently, it's just a verbal warning, and then they're back another hour
Well,
later.
if you find who was actually shooting them.
Okay.
Because usually by the time the officer can get there, somebody's already complained and I'm calling the cops and they're not shooting them when we get there. So very few times do we ever have an opportunity to actually cite them. It's a city citation. It's not general sessions court, no jail time, et cetera, et cetera. It's a city citation, just an ordinance violation. But we do a lot of running, and unfortunately, many times during these periods of time anyway, the officers we have that are working other things, and fireworks violations is very low on the totem pole as to priority and calls for service. So that's another issue we have with it.
And in your opinion, would this be something that would help the officers, or would it cause more paperwork and complaints? You know, it's 10 o'clock and we're still hearing fireworks. So
I don't know that it would change any. People complain even before 10 o'clock.
Okay.
They complain in the daytime. We have people who work night shifts,
Right.
and many times they call and complain if the kids are shooting them at 10 o'clock in the morning while they're off during Christmas break, and somebody's trying to sleep and they call and complain about it. Well, you know, where do we draw a line?
Right, and of course,
I think folks are going to complain about it no matter what time or date you set.
yeah, that's
to be honest.
That's what I was thinking, and of course, we don't want to take away someone's celebration of independence in this country. However, it seems like in Laverne we shoot fireworks from months in, and it just continues to go. So
We don't have as much of a problem as we do during these periods.
Okay.
Once it opens up to sell them, then that's when we have the overwhelming majority of the complaints. I used to love to shoot them at midnight.
right.
I can't stay awake that long anymore, so.
Thanks for clearing that up for me.
Any more questions? Okay, moving on to going along with this ordinance is second reading ordinance 2018-24, an ordinance to amend the Laverne zoning ordinance regarding the temporary use regulations for fireworks tents. This received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on September 25th, 2018. A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, November 20th at 6:30 p.m. Bruce, you want to address this?
Yes, sir. As you've mentioned, this went through the Planning Commission. This is an amendment to the zoning ordinance, and hence the reason for the public hearing on Tuesday. The changes that are proposed here, we had two different places, one in the zoning ordinance, one in the municipal code, which is noted in the previous ordinance, where dates of sale are listed. This specific instance is for the fireworks tents itself. And it was a different time frame than it was for the general retail sale that was found in the municipal code. So in order to make those two the same, we are referring here in the zoning ordinance back to the municipal code so that we only have one set of dates. Okay? And then the second change is down there under section 2 for the temporary use permits. We're changing the fee for fireworks tents. It is currently, I believe, $250, and that'll be going to $500. And those are the changes in this ordinance.
And that fee, whenever we've changed that was, we examined all the surrounding areas.
Correct. We looked at Smyrna and Murfreesboro, and I can't remember if that's in here as well as far as what they charge, but it is very similar to what they charge.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. Second reading, ordinance 2018-25, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2017-2018 general fund budget. And this is with streets repair. Bruce?
I'd refer this one to Phyllis. She can explain this one better than I can.
This is a budget amendment to cover the overage on this line item for the streets budget. When we tallied up all the numbers for year end, the streets department was over on this budget line item, and according to all the rules for doing budgets and budget amendments, we have to officially amend our budget with an ordinance. So that's what this one was for. Just overage on repair and maintenance on roads.
Anyone have any questions?
Yes, I have a question on that. Phyllis, so we went over the budget that was allocated,
Absolutely.
and is that, and I'm learning myself, so please excuse my ignorance. Is there a reason that we went over? Because if you look at Laverne's roads, we are in dire need of repairs, so I'm really concerned if we've gone over budget, how much money do we actually allocate for Laverne's roads?
Yeah. Generally, we do all of our budget repair, our road repair in paving in the State Street Aid. Garland them for this fund in the streets, they can do anything from a guardrail to street striping to Garland, help me out here. What else do we do on this line item?
Then some of the street lights come out of that.
No.
I know that, but we do all the street repairs.
Yeah.
Striping, guardrails.
Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of guardrails that we've had to repair. Sometimes we get insurance money, sometimes we don't. It's just according to whether we can track down the vehicle owner and whether the vehicle owner has insurance. And when they don't have insurance, we are responsible for that.
I think also on that we had some issues on the interstate with lighting, but she says it doesn't come under that. But so we turn them in, get quotes. Most of them don't have insurance.
Right.
If you got $2,000 worth of guardrail, or we go to top city attorney for.
So this isn't actually repairs to the streets, it's repairs to guardrails?
My understanding was that was the overage on the salt.
We did have some salt expense on this line item, yes. Mm-hmm.
That's where the salt comes out.
Well, what we want to make sure from this point on is we're all on the same page, because the citizens want to know where their money's going. And under this new administration, we're going to let them know where every dime is going. Are we all on the same page?
Any more questions? Okay, next one, we've got second reading, ordinance 2018-26, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2018-2019 general fund budget. And this is with police and fire. Phyllis?
Yes, again, we've had, this is for the 2018-2019. Chief, I believe this is for the vehicles. They were actually budgeted in the 17-18 budget year, but due to the time constraint of getting the vehicles in, we didn't get the vehicles in to right at year end or right after year end, and so they were going to be expensed in the current fiscal year instead of the previous year.
We had ordered the vehicles in plenty of time. We struggled with, for the last 2 years, particularly with Ford of Murfreesboro, buying the Ford utilities, and they knew when our fiscal year ended. They understood that, but by the time we got the vehicles and had everything done to the vehicles, it was after July 1, and that's what happened. We actually had some money that wasn't spent in that line item as such, but then we had to go back. So,
Any
after
questions?
the fact.
And on the next part is, of course, the fire vehicle that we purchased from Ohio. Was it Ohio?
Illinois, I think.
Illinois. You'll have to explain what kind of fire truck it was, Chris.
This was a heavy rescue that was purchased to replace Squad 2 that was totaled. We received insurance reimbursement for this. Actually,
previous year.
On the next order of business down, we can explain that a little bit better, but that's what it was, the insurance.
We did receive all the insurance proceeds in 17-18. Unfortunately, we purchased this vehicle in 18-19, so it just didn't match up in the same year.
Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. First, we have approve or reject city bids. Looks like a state contract, City of Murfreesboro contract, purchase and installation of equipment for 3 police vehicles. Bruce, who's got this? Chief?
Chief Walker.
It's the equipment that goes in the 3 new Tahoes. We actually, just as a point, we actually got the Tahoes back before we even got those Ford utilities that were delivered so late out on the road. So this is for the equipment for those that weren't on a statewide contract, and we could use the Murfreesboro.
Okay, okay. And then item B, approve quotes for repairs, improvements needed for the fire department heavy rescue truck. Chief Clark?
Yes, sir. In your packet, I've provided an explanation of the request. This has been a long-going process. The Squad 2 was totaled near Walmart there on Murfreesboro Road. We've battled with chassis and finally the rescue body. They finally totaled this. During that process, our late chief was in the process and found a used heavy rescue apparatus and that we purchased. With that being said, we have itemized quotes to make the vehicle Laverne worthy, and then also a few items there that would be included as well to outfit this heavy rescue unit. And I can entertain any questions that you may have if this document did not explain it well.
Now, does this include the equipment mounts? I know y'all said y'all may not have them. You won't know till you actually see the vehicle.
So the plan is that we're taking the equipment that was on Squad 2, which we currently have, those mounts that if they will fit into this truck, which I think they will, plus some other equipment that we would add, such as hazmat equipment, technical rescue equipment, hydraulic equipment, things like that. So it's a very large toolbox. At the end of this, out of all of that insurance money, you'll see highlighted at the bottom on page 2 of approximately $60,000 that we would come back to the board that was left from the insurance money, would come back and request if needed. I don't vision that. However, we need to get that truck into town and start stocking it to find out the totality of this unit.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on to C, approve user agreement with Youth Incorporated for an inline hockey league. AC?
Yeah, this is pretty simple. All what they're wanting to do, they've been going on a 6-month contract. Every 6 months they renew their user agreement, and they want to go to a full year. It's actually not a full year. It gives us 3 months to make any adjustments we need to the user agreement if they want to do that or if we want to do that. So the dates I have on here for their user agreement, they're going to go from a term beginning in March 1st, 2019 and continuing to November 30th, 2019. So, I mean, that's a simple request. It doesn't affect us, you know, revenue-wise or anything else. And, you know, they're super easy to work with, and they've put a lot of money into that inline hockey rink and getting that place fixed up down there. So I don't have any issues with it if the board does it.
Just to clarify, this is just to match the contract terms up to the season for inline hockey?
Inline hockey, yes. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I do have a question. I'm learning, so please
Okay.
excuse me. With the inline hockey, is it similar to like the football? Where they utilize
It's
the-
much smaller scale than football.
Okay.
I mean, because they don't play near as many games, and the leagues are smaller. So, and their concession stand is basically candy bars and drinks. It's just they're much smaller, but they do a lot of practices and a lot of teaching and seminars and things like that. And yeah, and they just want to not have to do this every 6 months rather than do it, you know, just once a year. Which football does it for one full season, and baseball and softball do it as well.
So when you say they're much smaller, you're talking about the actual league? 'Cause
The actual
Youth
league, the actual
Incorporated
members, everything is
okay.
smaller, yeah.
I had some concerns with speaking to the other people, like the concession stand uses, you know, 50%. Are they in that kind of category?
No, they're not in that category. I think it's a flat fee of $500 a year for them right now, and it's, you know, and like I said, they don't make their money on concessions.
Okay.
You know, they do that mostly on their signups and their sponsorships and things like that.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Now on to D, approve amendment to agreement with Griggs and Maloney for the McFarland Point water tank improvements. And hello, Jamie.
Hey, good evening, Mayor-elect Alderman. We are currently under contract to do improvements at the McFarland Point tank. Upon additional investigation of the concrete foundation, there is an area where there's some structural integrity concerns of that ring wall foundation that the tank rests on. It's cracked and spalled, and there's some efflorescent salt buildup. We feel it would be best to subcontract with a structural engineer to get a better idea of what's going on there and what the repair needs to be moving forward to prevent this from developing any further. So this is a proposal to amend our current contract to do this structural assessment. This would add a lump sum cost of $4,000 to our existing contract.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Again, I'm learning, so
Sure.
I have several. You're also the firm that is our consultant with our current water treatment people?
Yes, sir. We are your consultant for your water system in general, from the plant through the distribution.
Since we have you up here, do you guys have any idea how we move our direction for water quality? Are you involved with that, or is it just the operators?
We'd be happy to talk with you guys about that. That's probably a longer conversation.
Yeah, we definitely need to make time for that.
Yes, we would love to. I'd be happy to go over your water system with you and what we have seen as your needs for that.
Yes, that's, it's real important right now. We're in a position to where, me personally, as being newly elected, we want to make sure the people of Laverne understand we have obligations to work for them.
Yes, sir.
And the majority of the people in Laverne, they're not happy with their water quality. So if you guys are going to be involved in the future,
Yes,
we hope we can all work together and find a solution.
Yes, sir. We'd be happy to do that.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
E, approve change order number 4 for the Lower East Hurricane Creek Interceptor Sewer Line Project.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Alderman. Congratulations on your election. I'm Neil Hall with CTI Engineers. I'm presenting for your consideration change order 4 for the Lower East Hurricane Creek Interceptor Sewer, which is under construction, and the contractor has requested additional time due to delays for the gas line relocation and also for inclement weather in September, October, and November. In addition, over the last couple of years, we've made it a standard in Laverne to install traffic boxes at cleanouts, and we have 2 cleanouts on the Lower East Hurricane Creek Interceptor Sewer Project, which should be outfitted with these boxes, and the contractors proposed $280 per box for that. So this change order extends the time by 37 days until December 31st, and also adds $560 into the contract amount. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to F, we have approve addendum to transient use agreement with Motlow State Community College. Now, Donna, is that Donna or Bruce?
I could probably take that one. Back in July of 2017, the city entered into an agreement with Motlow to allow them to use the 2 meeting rooms over in the library as classroom space. The original agreement was for 2 years, which is basically 4 different semesters, and they were hoping to be able to use that space to teach classes. Unfortunately, due to enrollment numbers, and I'm not sure what other reasons exactly, they never really had the need to use that space. So for all of last year, both semesters, they did not use our facility at all. They informed us, I believe it was July of this year, possibly early August, that they would not need it for this fall semester. And they went ahead and canceled out for next spring's semester. And so when it came time to talk about the payment that was originally in the original agreement, we were trying to figure out what was fair. The original agreement called for $16,000, which is $4,000 per semester. During our discussion, we didn't really feel that it was fair, since they did not use our facility at all, to make them pay the full amount. So they are requesting that they pay a total of $6,000, which is basically $2,000 for the first 3 semesters, because of the timing of when they told us they would not need it. And then because they've already opted out of the fall, the spring semester next year, we would not get anything for that. So we're basically revising the transient agreement to go from $16,000 down to $6,000, subject to this board's approval, if this board wants to charge them at all.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Okay, well, moving on to new business. First reading, Ordinance 2018-27, an ordinance to amend Title I, Chapter 1, Section 1-101 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding the time and place of regular meetings. I actually requested for this to be put on the agenda, to put it before this new board to look at taking away the mayor's ability to cancel meetings. I believe that's this one, isn't it?
Yes, cancel.
Yes. So we've got already in the code where we can adjust, the mayor can move meetings. So this would just simply take away that ability to cancel meetings for any reason. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. Bruce, you've been here how many years?
A little over 25.
25. Have we ever canceled a meeting?
Seems like we may have canceled one initially, like for bad weather or something, but it's basically a reschedule.
Rescheduling, okay.
Right.
Does the time change on these meetings as well? It looks like it starts at 7, according to this ordinance.
Well, that was already in the ordinance for the 7 p.m. for the regular meetings.
So 6:30 still for the citizens forum?
This has nothing to do with Citizens Forum. This is just for the regular meetings
Okay.
itself.
All right, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, moving on to first reading ordinance 2018-28, an ordinance to amend Title 20, Chapter 2 of the Laverne Municipal Code by striking and repealing Section 20-209 entitled Park Activities Near Right-of-Ways, Access Roads, etc. in its entirety. Again, this is something that I asked Bruce to put onto the agenda. This was passed at last month's meeting. I know there's been some conversations with Jennings Jones, and he's questioned the constitutionality of this, and the area that it was designed for. It was discovered there's a footpath back through there, and there's some loopholes in this. So I've asked for it to be on the agenda for the board to decide about striking and repealing it. Anyone have any questions or discussions about this?
Just by way of discussion, I'd like to say that this ordinance has proven to be unenforceable. It puts the police in an uncomfortable position that they would be responsible for issuing city citations to either a currently elected official or someone that would possibly become elected. So it's caused kind of some undue hardship for the police department. But the original intent was to, keep public safety at the forefront of our thoughts.
Any more discussion? Okay. Moving on to Resolution 2018-27, a resolution of the City of Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen to declare property owned by the city to be surplus to the needs and directing disposal of the same. Bruce, you want to go through what we've got?
Sure. This is some equipment that is located currently at the Stormwater Building. There's an ice maker, some office chairs, and a sectional corner desk. Also at Public Works, there is a 2001 Dodge Durango that has been determined that it would be best interest to sell that as surplus. Those are all of the items that are currently on the list.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
Yes, I have a question for Bruce. I guess this is equipment that's just not needed, right?
Well, some of this equipment does not work, and then the remaining of it, yes, would not be needed.
Okay. Now, if you'll help educate me, if we have equipment that belongs to one department, for example, I want to use the example for the senior citizens bus. Mm-hmm. I've noticed when the new bus came in, the old bus, where did the old bus go?
It actually has gone over to Public Works, and they use that to help with transporting the inmates.
Okay. Our new bus isn't handicap equipped?
I'm not sure.
So how do we've taken our handicap equipped bus from the Senior Citizen Center, and we're transporting Rutherford County inmates with it. So how do we get that bus back to the seniors? Do we not do that?
I don't believe it is. It doesn't have a ramp.
Right, but it's the accessibility, the way the aisles are. So we have people that can't get on the new bus. So how do we, is there?
I don't know if there's much difference really between the two buses.
There is. There is. I've walked it.
Would you like to say something?
Yeah, the buses are very similar, and there are bigger seats for some of the passengers who nobody rides a wheelchair that is a City of Laverne rider. They all, are able to
So how do we make that possible? Because there are seniors that would like to go that are wheelchair bound. So,
But they're not riders yet. At least, maybe it's because they can't get on the bus, I don't know, but nobody's called and said, you know, they wanted to be picked up in Laverne that needed to have a wheelchair.
And that's maybe a conversation that y'all can have as far as looking into the cost of it and bringing that back to the board.
so it's okay just to take the vehicles from each department and move them around? Is that the norm?
Yes, we can do that if there's a need in another department, not just for vehicles, but other equipment as well.
Okay.
So moving on to Resolution 2018-28, a resolution to accept Hampton Road Subdivision Phase 3, received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on October 30th, 2018. Bruce, you want to go through this?
Kyle, you'd probably be better at this than I would.
Well, I think Adam's got most of it. I mean,
Right.
basically, this was brought up to the planning commission. It's, of course, it's Hampton Roads Phase 3. The developer did request acceptance on this, and Bo had sent out an email to Randolph. This kind of followed the normal protocol. Randolph's reached out to all departments. All departments have went out and inspected for their individual area. So like streets, went out and inspected the streets, and water sewer did the same. As far as all departments, they said everything had been addressed and taken care of to the specifications that the planning commission approved as far as the plat. So everything is in order and ready for acceptance.
Kyle, is there any complaints from the residents?
I have not received any complaints on this one. I don't know if Randolph, if you've seen lately. This is one of them I hadn't received a lot of complaints on.
Perfect.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on. Resolution 2018-29, resolution authorizing the City of Laverne to participate in the Public Entity Partners Property Conservation Matching Grant Program. And who's got that?
I can start on this one. This is one of 2 or 3 different grants that our insurance provider, which used to be called TML Risk Management Pool, they have changed their name to Public Entity Partners. This is one of the grants that they offer to their members. This is a property conservation matching grant program, and we have received quotes. Actually, I believe Glenn got the quotes for some cameras to go up at the senior center and at the library. That's right. So the grant, they will pay up to $5,000, and we have to pay a matching $5,000. And in this case, the bid was around $10,800, so we would have to pay the other $800 as well. So it's roughly 54% that we would have to pay to purchase these cameras and get them installed.
Okay, any questions?
Where is that currently in the budget? And if not, where would that come from in the budget?
Phyllis?
Well, I have my small items of equipment, which that can come out of. That's my main budget line is for all equipment that needs replacing. Generally anything that needs replacing or upgrading comes out of that, and we can take that from there.
Okay, this will come from the IT budget then?
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing I have to add to that is, you know, part of this, we're talking about making improvements to the senior center. And this, you know, definitely the senior center doesn't have the funds to fund anything additional other than what's currently in their budget. So it would have to come out of general fund at some point somewhere. So just want to make that note.
Okay.
Is that something that we can make the amendments like we've done in the other departments?
If that line item goes over budget, yes, we would have to.
Yeah. We would have to do a budget for Glenn, but we couldn't do a budget for the seniors because they don't have the funds to support any additional expense.
What, can you explain that in depth for me?
You know, the seniors, we only get funding for the seniors through the donations from the city, donations from GNRC, and donations from Rutherford County. And their budget is very, very tight, and they have very little surplus. So I think 50% of that cost to them was a couple $1,000s, and it wouldn't, you know, they can't sustain that. That would really dip into their what little bit they have at, you know, year end. So the general fund would, you know, absorb that cost.
So the money for the seniors is something that is allocated from this board?
Yes.
Okay.
For the
donation?
Donation from the city, yes.
And what is that currently?
Bruce hit me up with that.
I don't have it in front of me.
I want to say roughly 50,000, maybe. I'd have to look at the actual budget and see.
This is a workshop. Do you mind getting those numbers?
54. Donna had said it's 54.
54? 54,000?
I will confirm that with you, though.
Yes, thank you. And that's annually?
Yes.
Any other questions on resolution 29? Moving on, resolution 2018-30, a resolution to authorize the mayor to determine board of mayor and alderman attendance at economic development conferences. This is a resolution I asked Bruce to draft and present before the board. There were some concerns with the budget for the economic development with our different conferences and having various board members attending those. So the proposal in this would put forth, if passed, that the mayor would determine that attendance for the board, mayor, and alderman.
Just to have a couple of thoughts of that. I'm the chairperson of the Economic Development Committee. No one has contacted me about this matter. As such, also it also removes the autonomy of individual departments to determine how they spend the funds that are allocated to them from this board. The other thing is it gives one person, that would be the mayor, the autonomy to decide which events he wants to attend. It does not allow for what is currently in the budget. So if additional travel is required by the mayor, which was not previously budgeted for, it would need a budget amendment as well. The funds that were currently allocated to the Economic Development Board or to the Economic Development Team for travel was $8,660, of which $6,800 is used. I have understood that Mayor Cole would like to attend an event in New York this year, which was not previously budgeted for. Also, the ICSC in Las Vegas, that is a very large event. It's a international shopping and retail conference. On that one, it is a large conference. There is additional help that's needed. Some of the events are smaller events that were not previously attended by any member of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. So to authorize one person on the board to make complete decisions on who all attends these conferences that were not previously budgeted, I think would be a hardship on the people.
I have a question on this, and Melissa, maybe you can help me again. I am learning, so please. So you said that the $8,600 is the current budget for the travel?
For the travel portion of the Economic Development Team, yes.
And we've used $6,800 of it?
That is correct.
So if our newly elected mayor wanted to go to these, it would be an additional cost?
Yes.
If we kept it like it is?
Yes.
Is there a way that we can reduce the number of personnel going and maybe just send, you know, our economic development specialists and our mayor? Would that save us money?
It wouldn't save us money. It would be an equal amount of money.
Okay.
But it wouldn't fully be utilizing the economic development assistant to her best benefit, nor the mayor's time, I would think.
So in that scenario, though, sending the mayor and our economic development specialist to these events would cost the taxpayers the same. They would just have the leader of the city representing them at that point, right?
Yes, I agree with that. The part that I don't understand is that this new resolution that would be added gives the mayor the autonomy to determine who goes. And so that would also include the ICSC conference that happens every May. And it also, I don't know how many of those events he would plan to go to, but it would also affect a board decision as far as the funds that would be available for that in the budget next year. And an amendment to this year's budget if there's any additional costs.
So part of the concern with this that led to this this resolution is where we just had some discussions about the New York ICSC trip. And we had, at that point, 4 elected officials all wanting to go on that trip. And our economic specialist was sitting there saying, we're going to have to look at appropriating more funds to be able to cover this. We have, for me, what I'm looking for at any of these conferences is making sure that we take the most effective group there so that we're getting the most for our money and that we're using that wisely and that we're coming back and within a few months or a year, we're seeing those developments coming into the city.
My biggest concern is I want to make sure in the future that we're not traveling the countries on taxpayers' expense without a return. Tom Broker is doing a wonderful job in his recruitment, and I've learned that when he took the position, I was actually concerned about him being in that role. Over the term that he's been there, he's definitely guiding us in the right direction with the classes he's taken and the learning. Everything that he's learned, he got another certificate today, I seen. So I think we got the right guy leading it. I just, in my opinion, again, if the mayor is at these events, people want to, business, corporate America, they want somebody that can say, hey, come to my city and let's make the deal. And that's what we're all about. We have a lot of land that needs some retail on it. And if we can do it for the same price, or roundabout price, I'd much rather see the mayor out there representing Laverne, because that's what the people has elected you to do, is represent us all over the country. I just don't want, I don't want 5 or 6 people going to New York City. My wife and I recently went to New York City and spent a week in Manhattan. It's very costly. So I just don't want the taxpayers of Laverne spending their hard-earned money, sending people all over the country for this.
I would agree with that, and that's why no elected official previously had asked to go to New York. And then when Tom presented to us that the budget was not set for including the board members to go to New York, all of the rest of us withdrew our request except for the mayor.
But it was requested.
Yes, and it never has been before. And so previously, just the status quo has been for once a year at the largest conference in the United States that we attend as many board members as are able to take off time from work to do so. And not every event, because we have a full-time person for that.
Right. I can assure you the status quo is gone. This is a new administration, and we're planning on working for the citizens.
Any more questions or conversation about this? Okay. Moving on to number 18, motion to appoint or remove committee members. Number A, Economic Development Advisory Committee. 1 term vacant and council appointment. So Tom Broker has resigned from this committee as a member. Now, he still sits on this committee as staff. So this opens up another seat for a resident to be on this board. And then also up for election is up to the board whether or not to make any changes, who will represent the board, mayor and alderman on this committee. B is Greenway Advisory Committee. We've got 1 term vacant, and that was mine. I resigned the chairmanship for the Greenway Advisory Committee. So the board will appoint a board member to be that new chairman.
And Mayor, on one note, I failed to put it in the memo. Jimmy Favorman has resigned from the Greenway Advisory Committee, so that does open up one spot on this committee as well. So
Okay.
that will also be on the agenda for Tuesday.
And Bruce, do we have applicants for all these positions?
Going back to economic development, I did receive one application today for that one, and Greenway, I believe I have one on file. I'll have to look and check.
And is that something we discuss at the meeting or the workshops?
Either one typically, but yeah, I take applications up to usually noon the day of the meeting itself. So we'll have a full list on Tuesday night.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So moving on, C, Historical Preservation Advisory Committee. The chairman position appointed by the board will be decided. Laverne Housing Authority. We have A.C. Puckett's term is set to expire on November 30th. So I take it, Bruce, y'all are reaching out to him?
We are trying to reach out to him. Of course, he no longer lives in his home anymore. I believe he's, I'm not exactly sure what his situation is. Obviously, he's elderly, and I'm not sure about his health. So I'm not sure if he will stay on this board or not. But we are trying to reach out to him and get a hold of him to see if he wishes to remain. We do not have any other applications at this time, so this will not be on Tuesday's agenda because his term doesn't actually expire. Well, actually, it did expire October 31st. But we're still trying to reach out to him to see if he will want to stay on, and we'll go from there once we get an answer from him.
Okay. E, Library Board. Again, council appointment. The board will decide who will represent the council for that board. Local Emergency Planning Committee. I have resigned as chairman of that board, and so the board will appoint a new chairman. We also have 2 terms vacant. One of those is the water treatment plant and the fire department. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Going on to G, Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Again, the chairman, it'll be decided to whether to keep the chairman or decide who's going to represent that board. Planning Commission, we will have council appointment. And Bruce, I want to go ahead and let you know, I'm going to remove 3 members from the Planning Commission.
Okay, I will put that on the agenda for Tuesday night.
Thank you. I, the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, we've got 1 term vacant, which was Gwendolyn Davis's, and then we have the council appointment for that board. And then the last one, we've got Stormwater Appeals and Advisory Board. We've got 1 term vacant, which was Dan Garrett's, and the council appointment. And that is it for the agenda. We'll go to Mayor and Alderman comments. Alderman Jones.
I'd just like to say welcome aboard to all the new and upcoming individuals that will be on the board. Earlier today, we had discussed the placement of the vacant seat of Alderman Cole, now Mayor-elect. And again, that is a process which is governed by the ordinance and the rules of this board. Again, I take nothing personal, but I would like to state that, yes, I was 4th place, but I think I did a pretty damn good job when they put me in there for the 2 years. At least the citizens thought I did good enough to bring me back for this when they reelected me. So a lot of times you get what you can. I'm quite sure if any of you watch the NFL, there's been a lot of good quarterbacks that weren't picked in the 1st round pick, and some came in the 5th round pick, but they're doing a pretty good job now. All I care about when it comes to the situation at hand is someone is going to come up here and do what needs to be done for this city. I mean, it's not personal for me. I live in the city, and that's where I'm involved in it. I want anyone who gets on the board to just be here for the city. I mean, we ran the campaign, and a lot of you know that, you know, we had differing opinions, but we need to put it aside now, and we need to do something for the city. Can't fight each other up here, because I got just as much win as anybody else. And, you know, I have a statutory time that I can stand up here and talk just like anyone else. But we need to put the city first now and move ahead. And let's move forward. That would be what I would ask of each individual. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Brown?
I would like us to also come together as a community, welcome our new board. I look forward to working with this board and whoever is appointed on Tuesday of next week. I just want to say to all Laverne residents and to every member of this board and every member of the staff that it's really time for us to attack issues together and not one another. And that's where my heart is with the city. I want to see us stand together to make our community the greatest one on earth. Thank you.
Alderman-elect Church.
I'm happy to be here. 15 years of trying to become an alderman, and with the help of the citizens of Laverne, they've elected me to represent them, and that I will do 100%. There's going to be times we always don't agree, but your representation and your voice will be heard. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out. We've gone through a lot with the elections over the last few months, so it warms my heart to see so many people have come out, regardless of who they voted for. It's great to see that involvement and that engagement again. Hopefully, what I'm hopeful for is that this new board will work together and do what's best for the city. Listen to the residents, and let's make Laverne a better place for everybody. I think that's what everyone wants. It's just we disagree on how to get there. So we can work together and do that. And so I look forward to serving you for the next 4 years. Thank you. And I call this meeting adjourned.